Hello, welcome to Frag Radio. My name is Nick Franz, and I'll be your host today. Frag Radio is all about showcasing people doing good things in the veteran community, whether they're veterans or civilians. It doesn't matter, as long as they're doing something great in the veteran community. Today's guest is Candiss Bryant. How are you doing, Candiss?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. So Candiss is the founder of Candies and Associates. Why don't you go ahead and start off by telling us, a little bit about your background, where you came from, and what you're doing nowadays.
Sure, no problem. Well, I come from a small town in Ohio. No, I won't go back that far. I'm kind of like, I think a little bit of an anomaly in the community. Been around for just about 18 years now and have had an amazing career, and one that from time to time I've tended to take it for granted, and I don't know what the 40s are doing to me, but I'm getting pretty sentimental in my 40s, and also I think a little bit more grounded as to where it is that I want to be going. So Candice and Associates wasn't always Candice and Associates, right? When I got started in the business, I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't even know it was really a business. I think at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, this path that I've been on for 18 years is just divine intervention. And it's just being guided down a path or put in different situations and picking up on those opportunities and going forward with a sense of purpose from that point forward. And really kind of started back in 1999. And I had moved to Columbus, Georgia, which is right next door to the home of the infantry, Fort Benning, Georgia. And I had moved there because I wanted to be a general manager of a baseball team. And I was actually working for a women's professional fast pitch softball team. And shortly after I moved there, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and quit. And I had a friend who is a headhunter, and she said, "Man, I've got this guy you just need to meet." And he was hired to do the capital campaign to build the National Infantry Museum. And I was 20 years old, I think, at the time, and I met him, and he was looking to have somebody be an office manager because he was located out of North Georgia. And I said, "Look, I don't know anything about the military. I don't want to know anything about the military. And quite honestly, I'm really not sure if I care." And that's a 20-year-old speaking to y'all with a lot of piss and vinegar, right? Right. And he said, "Young lady, you don't need to worry about that. I'll be the one interfacing with the military." And that's kind of where my story started. Kind of a weird start to a career serving veterans at this juncture, right?
Right. All right. So where did you go from there?
So my first assignment with this fundraiser was to take these binders, and every time I tell this story, I think the binders get bigger, but they were at least your 2-inch binders. They were no joke, and they were full of unit associations across the world. And what I needed to do was go in and try to verify these unit associations. Were the organizations still active and functioning? Were the folks still living? Because we're talking World War II era and before, fellas. And it took me 3 months to get through these binders, because this was going to be the start of our paver process for the museum. So small money, $1 to $5,000. And in the course of 3 months, the way I've grown to describe it is like the Grinch who stole Christmas. Everybody knows that analogy, right? It's shriveled up little heart. You look at that as kind of what my heart was for the military. It just kind of grew and grew and grew. And I got the best American military history lesson that I think anybody could get in 3 months. And of course it was infantry slanted, because that's what I was there to do. But so I got the best history lesson. I had pen pals all over the world that I kept for several years. And I built a vernacular in a very short time frame as a civilian that an average civilian, it would take them quite a while to pick up on the lingo and the vernacular. And folks really started to take notice of that. When I would go places, I felt that I could engage in conversation and I understood what people were talking about. And in that time period, we started a magazine called The Infantry Bugler that still exists today. And that was going to be our main communication piece for the museum project. And I was always looking to fill white space. If anybody's published magazines or any kind of editorial material, you're always crunching to find content. And the Ranger Training Brigade was members of the Infantry Association. And they said, anytime you have white space to fill, we'll fill it for you. And so we were very Ranger heavy in the beginning stages of that magazine. And that's kind of where everything started with the Rangers as well. I started learning about Ranger culture. It started on the TRADOC side with the Ranger Training Brigade before it was the Airborne and Ranger Training Brigade. And when I ended up leaving all of that, the colonel said, I want you to go find that girl. And that he introduced me to the Best Ranger competition. And the rest is really kind of history.
That's awesome. So anybody listening, you're watching right now, if you got any comments, questions, go ahead, post them up, and I'll put them up on the screen. But no, that's awesome. So you started with Rangers, doing the Best Ranger competition. I mean, you did a lot before that. So you have this huge wealth of knowledge going back, you said the past 18 years. Where did that lead you to right now? What do you got going on right now with Candies and Associates?
So it was during that, I started with Best Ranger and I was just doing things to help, and it just turned into in our culture and in our community, when people trust you, they're going to refer you. And it was just anytime folks needed stuff, it'd say, oh, you need to call Candiss, or you need to call this person. And I want to say, gosh, it was 5-6 years into doing this that I finally woke up and I thought, there might be a little business that I could actually make in doing this, and still do a lot in giving back and being purpose driven. And so I started picking up, and I worked in the sniper community for several years and the airborne community doing Leap Fest. And it was really all event based. And it led me into the law enforcement community, because there's a lot of cross section within industry of law enforcement and military space. So it was just a very natural fit. And so I fully fledged developed the company with a very strong core value set, in that all we were going to do was serve veterans in law enforcement, or military veterans in law enforcement, and that the funds that we generated had to go back to specifically back into that community. And the way I say it is feed the community. So as long as everything kind of stays in a closed loop and we're kind of feeding each other and creating that round circle, then we're doing what we need to do to make the community strong and thrive and be vibrant.
That's awesome. So Candies and Associates strictly works with nonprofits in the veteran and law enforcement community, and you do events. You put on fundraiser events, and we're going to talk about a couple of them. Here, you do a lot of good ones. So, I mean, that's awesome. You didn't serve in the military, but, after being a part of it, helping out, it really grew on you, and that's awesome. Why don't we talk about some of the events that, you actually put on?
Sure. Good gracious. As far as kind of modern day, I could take you back to some really cool things that we've done in the past, but kind of where we are right now, I do development work with Gallant View. And so take just a lot of pride in doing things to enhance and grow and build Gallant View and that network. The big event, the big fundraising event behind Gallant View is Run Ranger Run, and it's a very special event that no matter where I go in life and my career, that this will always be something that's very near and dear to my heart. And it was started with this powerful story of the power of one, and what one person's struggles, one person's journey is, what he or she decides to do with that, and how that then can affect so many other people, and then also create a ripple just into time and space, and really change the world. So that's that doesn't tell you a whole lot about Run Ranger Run, but that's definitely kind of where it all started. And so now Gallant View does its major fundraising at one time during the year, which runs its course in the month of February. And we just invite groups of up to 10 people to get together, to make a commitment to one another to do 565 miles in the month of February, and to raise money for Gallant View. And where that 565 miles comes from is the journey that Corey Smith took when he was transitioning out from active. He was in Ranger Regiment, and he was transitioning out of regiment into civilian life and trying to find his way, and decided to make this 565-mile solo journey on foot. And it just gripped a whole lot of people in regards to what his journey was and what it became. So we took that. He turned that to Gallant View, which was an organization that kind of stood behind him on that effort. Then he turned to Gallant View and said, you might be able to do something with this. And at the time, I was a board member for Gallant View. I was one of the first board members for Gallant View. And the executive director is Carl Munger, and Carl picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, do you think there's something that we can do? So we kind of got our heads together, and we came up with the concept of what Run Ranger Run is today, which I think is a highly successful event. And even though we've been doing it, we're going on year 6, it still really hasn't even scratched the surface of what I think it's capable of doing.
Yeah, Run Ranger Run is an awesome event. I had the pleasure of working with you last year on it, and absolute joy to work with. Anybody I've ever talked to that knows you says the same thing. Never heard one bad word about who you are and your work ethic and everything. But Run Ranger Run, the name's kind of deceiving, because it says run twice in it, it says run. So, what I learned about it was I'm not a runner by any means. Never have been. Even though I was in the military, I'm still never a big runner. But you don't have to run. You can log miles, right?
Yeah, and we're pretty adamant about that too, because Corey didn't even complete his journey by running. I think everything's kind of a testament to what a journey is and a major challenge. And Corey, I can't remember how many miles he got into his journey when he started getting stress fractures, and he wasn't able. Doctors looked at him and said, no, you can't continue this way. So he walked a good bit of it until he was able to get a bike brought in, and then he ended up finishing his journey on a bicycle. And so even when we developed Run Ranger Run, it was we anticipated that everybody's journey to be a little bit different in how they come to those miles. The key is getting to the miles and making that commitment.
Yeah, that's awesome. So anybody watching, listening, go check it out. runrangerrun.com. It's up on the screen if you forget it. You don't know how to spell it. It's an awesome event, and it's 100% virtual. I put 2 teams together last year, and there were people that were deployed in Afghanistan that were on my team. all over the country. It's virtual, so you don't have to, all be in the same area. It's cool if they are, because then you get to run with somebody else or bike with somebody else, and you get to go out there and raise money for Gallant View. And there's their website right there, gallantview.org. Check them out. It's great great nonprofit organization. Definitely doing great things with transition in military. Hopefully we'll get Carl Monger on, and he can talk about that some more too. But yeah, definitely great organization. I know people out there are always worried about, where their money's going to. And I can tell you right now, just from having dealings with the Gallant View, they definitely put the money to good use. So it's definitely a good organization and definitely a good event. So I know there's another event, though, coming up pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, so we've got Mogadishu Mile that's coming up, and this is another. This is a fun one. Kind of our history with this event is back in 2013. We were approaching the 20-year anniversary of Task Force Ranger, and Jeff Struker, who was a part of Task Force Ranger, and incidentally, he also competed and won Best Ranger competition. So our paths have crossed multiple times, and he kind of had heard of me and the group of people that I was working with, and he reached out and said, "Look, Candiss, I'm in a real bind, and we're having this anniversary and reunion in Dallas, Texas. And we're wondering if you would come in and take on a 5K event for us. We'll handle the reunion part in the 5K event." And at that point in time, I had never done a major street race. And so it was an adventure for us. And we did a memorial mile, and it was very emotional and sentimental. And then we did the 5K road race that was a part of it. And it was a huge success. And that year, now, mind you, it was a part of the reunion year and all of that, but we ended up raising, I want to say $75,000 for his charity of choice that year, which was the Special Operations Memorial Foundation, I think it was. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but so it was a real successful year, and at the time, other people were running Mogadishu Mile in Columbus. So they have it in Columbus, Georgia every year, because Columbus is situated right there next to 3rd Ranger Battalion. And 3rd Ranger Battalion was one of the core groups that was a part of Task Force Ranger and was a part of the Battle of Mogadishu. And so they have that to support that element. And somebody else was running the event, and so we just kind of backed out of it and thought it was great that we were able to do our time. And we got a call again in January asking us to help facilitate Mogadishu Mile in Columbus this year. And so we were just thrilled to be asked again and be a part of that great and significant event. And it'll be here before we know it.
That's awesome. So Mogadishu Mile, if anybody wants to go look that up, definitely recommend it. It's listed right there, mogadishumile.net. If you don't know how to spell it, because it's pretty crazy spelling, it's right there up on the screen for you. And I'll definitely, all the links for all these events and the Gallant View are in the comment section. But we had a question from Laura. She wants to know, I believe she's talking about Run Ranger Run. What is the smallest group allowed? 1 person, 2? Will you place them with a group?
1 person is fine. We have several folks that do the 565 miles on their own and form their own team, and that's fine with us. The only reason why we hint at and we try to cap teams at 10 is so that when we offer rewards and prizes and different things, we have kind of a controlled group that's all aiming towards, that's making that commitment to 565 miles. That's why we say groups of up to 10. The second part of that question was,
will you place them in a group?
We don't typically place in a group, but if folks contact me and say I'm alone, I'd like to be with the group, we'll definitely reach out to a group that we may feel doesn't have a complete team, and ask them if it would be okay if somebody else joined that group and make that introduction, or we establish a team that has folks that otherwise don't have a home.
Okay, very cool. And I'll throw this out there too for anybody that is thinking about participating in Run Ranger Run, and you're flying solo or you only have like a couple people. I will have teams up. I'll start one. Once it gets filled, I'll start another one. Once it gets filled, I'll keep going until they're all filled. So if you need to join a team, look for Frag Clothing Company on there. And if there's under 10, just join it. If there's not, look for the next one. So I'll get it started right away. So it's open to anybody that wants to join. It's a great organization to support. So Patty says hi. Thanks, Patty. So awesome. Great events coming up. And Mogadishu Mile is on what day?
September 30th is the 5K in Columbus, Georgia. And then Mogadishu Mile will also have a strong virtual component to it as well, so people can participate anywhere in the world. And then the Memorial Mile will also be on the 30th of September. But then the cool thing about Mogadishu Mile is that people have been doing memorial events all across the country, and several of which we're very aware of and we've helped support. So one of the things that we're trying to do is bring everybody together and kind of not synchronize, but create synergy between the different elements. And to where if, as an official Mogadishu Mile event, if they wanted to use our t-shirt design or coin and medal designs and, that kind of stuff, and kind of bring it all together. And we definitely have some different event sites, and their events will be on different days, but we'll post them all up on the website mogadishumile.net as they come forward and we get those plans in place.
Awesome. So once again, anybody wants to check out Mogadishu Mile, strongly recommend it. There's the website right there, mogadishumile.net. Check it out. Awesome event. So those are just two of the bigger events that you do. I know you do a lot more out there with law enforcement, what is it, the Georgia?
We do. We have a Tactical Officers Association conference. We help put on and support. That's also, it seems like we're in Georgia a lot. That's where I live in Texas, in Austin, Texas, and it seems like I'm in Columbus, Georgia, just as much as anywhere else. And so that event, we're moving from Macon, Georgia to Columbus, Georgia. And we just do, various other events as they come up. Some of the best times that we've had is working in the sniper community, raising money to build memorials, and it's just been a fantastic career. I don't know any other way to say it. I was able to take my daughter back to Fort Benning for Ranger Rendezvous a couple weeks ago, and she also went back with me last year. And last year I was able to take her up to the museum and stand there and show her all these different things that we were seeing were a result, or at least a big part of the result of fundraising efforts or efforts on our part to help support this community. And when we're able to kind of sit back and take a look at the greater picture and the footprint that's been made, it really is it's a phenomenal thing. And sometimes I really forget all that's been done. And I've had the great fortune of working with some amazing people like yourself. We started, I'm being dead serious. When I started the business, I've no desire personally in a personal business, to work with folks that are hardworking, purpose-filled, passionate folks who are really good at what they do, in their role. And there's really no need kind of in the infrastructure of things to have really big companies anymore, especially in the service sector. You can cherry pick a lot of folks and cherry pick the cream of the crop or the folks that share your same core values. And over the years have worked with some just amazingly talented, dedicated folks. And when I started my career and started the business, I felt all alone, and like things wouldn't get done if I didn't do it or couldn't get it done. And to be able to see that shift and change and just see other people, now I wouldn't be anything without everybody that surrounds me and you, and we're just a player.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So anybody out there, you want to see other events that Candiss puts on, you want to see what she's all about, you want to read up on it more, you can go to her website, CandissandAssociates.com. Check it out. She's doing a lot of great things out there. If you have a nonprofit and you need help, reach out. Candiss is a great person to work with, very easygoing. She'll tell you how it is. So definitely, check it out. So I want to leave folks with all your experience. I'm sure I could sit here all night and pick your brain. But I want to ask you for advice for those that are working in the nonprofit sector or thinking about getting into that area. What advice do you have for them?
Well, I think, let me think for a second, because where I want to come to this is because I actually did write down, what I've learned over the course of all these years. And I wrote down those thoughts, actually, I think, and maybe you might ask that. And it kind of led me into a thought pattern that's really been on my mind a lot lately. I'm not a spouse. I'm not a girlfriend of a military guy or a veteran. Because I wasn't any of the above, I'm kind of an outsider. And because of constantly being an outsider, and so not only was I not those things, but I didn't have a desire to be. So I wasn't dating in the community. I wasn't, I just didn't have that place. And so I was always an outsider. And what I learned in being the outsider role is that this community, and now this isn't answering your question about nonprofits at large, but in this community, we can really box out outsiders. And and I understand, I understand why that happens, but I'm a pretty passionate and going to become a lot more of an advocate of it doesn't serve us well as a community to box out anybody. So I'll answer your question in a couple of different ways. One is, advice to the veteran community or law enforcement community at large is you need passionate people that may not fit the mold. And when somebody doesn't fit the mold, when a nonprofit or an individual or civilian doesn't fit the mold, just take a little bit more time before you jump to assumptions or accusations or whatever, and box that person out and burn the passion or burn the spirit or burn the commitment that they may have. I've really seen a lot of that, and it's actually a tragedy for the community. On the nonprofit side, just as far as general advice and to help, is that there's a couple of different things. Nonprofit work is not a joke. It is hard work, and you see so many people come into the space that come in with a pure heart and the purest of intentions, and I don't know if they feel like or they think it's easy work, and And so just take your time to understand the work, and then as people going, what organization to support, take your time to research those nonprofit organizations and ask them questions and really get to know them and figure out when you want to work with a nonprofit, ask the questions and get to the point and figuring out how you can best fit with them, and so that they can understand how to best work with you as well, because there's room for everybody. When I started in the nonprofit world and sitting on boards and doing different things, I didn't have a dime to my name that I could give, but I had a whole lot of time, a whole lot of energy, and I was just honest with folks. I'm like, look, I don't have money I can give you, but what else can I provide for you? You know, I can do these different things. And then as time has progressed, now I can give more. As Candice and Associates, as we draw fees from some of the stuff that we do, we have kind of a standard rule as well that we give back. So there's so much of that we're going to give right back, either to that particular client, to that particular organization, or something else in the community, because we consider that a part of that feeding pattern. You know, we know that we've got to feed it as well. But so, I mean, I'd love it if somebody asked questions and just engage in conversations around nonprofits. I love it.
Nonprofits definitely needed, and to survive as a nonprofit, you need money and volunteers. It's two big things that you need. And volunteering doesn't cost anything. I know a lot of people are very hesitant about opening their wallet, because you hear all the bad apples that are out there. You don't want to give up your money to the bad apple. So, you give up your time. It doesn't cost you anything. And
yeah. And I don't know how many folks listening to you are familiar with Gallant View. But one of the things that I love about Gallant View is its premise of just connecting veterans to each other through a peer-to-peer mentoring match. And it's so healthy as far as a mission set and what we need to be doing. We need to be seeing people in the world of social media, or in the time of social media. I'm not one to blame inanimate objects for anything in life. Like, I don't think it's the destroyer of the universe, but at the same time, I can see our society just getting more and more into the frame of a computer and into a social media network. And being able to get out, show up, and see people eyeball to eyeball is extremely important, and especially important in the veteran community. What I love about Gallant View is it constantly encourages that interaction. Show up, figure out it's, us texting folks and asking how they're doing, or texting or sending a message on social media. That's phase 1. But we've got to get to phase 5, and that phase 5 is, let's get together and let's just go out, put our feet in the grass and go take a walk, or something. But spending that time together, and I say I love Gallant View for that, but that's just the same for everything else. What Candice and Associates stands for, as far as event-based, is we want to bring people together. Everything we do is about bringing that community together. That's why we value events so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely huge. I know, just from my experience and talking to guys and girls that get out, the biggest thing they miss is the people, and like these nonprofits like Gallant View, these events that you're putting on, it brings the people back together. And, I'm a very firm believer that that's what people need, to be around the people, like-minded people. And, it's almost like therapy,
Absolutely. And and I'm extremely introverted, and people wouldn't know that based off of my career path, but being with people takes a whole lot of effort. And I mention that because I've noticed that in a lot of my friends and a lot of my veteran friends, right? We like to be around our people, but at the same time, we like to be we like to be by ourselves, right? Because it takes a whole lot of effort to get up, go and do, and to go out and but once we're there,
right,
then and that's the hard part. It's that getting out there and doing it and showing up. So
yeah, awesome. Laura, thank you for the nice comments as well. Laura Ortega from Detroit. No, that's awesome. And Candiss, thank you for doing what you do. It's not an easy job, and you're killing it. You go out there, you do a great job. The events you put on are awesome. They raise a lot of good money for great organizations, and I'm glad I can be a part of it with you. It's awesome, and you are the first female that has been on the show.
Oh.
Yep. So thank you for coming on. It's awesome. Hopefully we can showcase more women doing good things, and the veteran community is mainly male dominant, so it's nice to have women that are doing awesome things, and you're killing it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So make sure everybody go check out the comment section. I got all the links in there. I got all the Facebook things tagged. So go check them out. Go like their pages. Go like the Gallant View, Mogadishu Mile, Run Ranger Run. I put them all in there. Go follow them. Go check out the web pages. Go check out Candiss, especially if you're a nonprofit and you need some help. She's the one to talk to. So thank you once again for joining us, and everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. If you got any more questions or anything, just go ahead and throw them in the comment section. Thank you, and have a good night.
All right, Nick. Thank you.